Good morning, Virgo. They're planning the visit right now, not vaguely considering, not casually thinking about it, actively planning, deciding when, deciding what to say, deciding what they hope to accomplish, rehearsing in their mind, building courage, maybe, overcoming hesitation, maybe, but committed to showing up at your door whether you're expecting them or not. And showing up at your house is specific, is physical appearance at your actual home, is crossing into your private space, is showing up where you live announced or unannounced, invited or uninvited, expected or completely unexpected, is them deciding that whatever they need to say or do requires face to face at your actual residence. That level of intention, that commitment to physical appearance at your home reveals urgency, reveals what they're carrying can't be handled through text, can't be managed through phone call, can't be delayed, requires proximity, requires seeing you in person, requires conversation in your space or invitation into your space. And depending on WHO, this person is depending on your relationship, on history, on current dynamic. This showing up could be wonderful news or complicated news or concerning news. Could be person you want to see or person you've been avoiding. Could be arrival you've been hoping for or appearance you've been dreading. Here's WHO might be planning to show EUP. Could be romantic interest who's been distant, who's been inconsistent, who's been unclear, who's finally decided they need to be honest, who's realized text won't convey what they're feeling, who's chosen your home as place to finally be vulnerable, who's showing up to confess feelings or apologize for behavior or explain what's been happening. Romantic person showing up means they've been thinking about you constantly. They've been fighting internal battle about reaching out. They've decided risk of rejection is worth it. They're choosing vulnerability over safety. They need to see your face when they speak, need to gauge reaction in person. Why your house? Because neutral territory feels too public, because they want privacy, because they're hoping intimacy of your space creates opening for honest conversation, because they want to demonstrate commitment through effort of showing up because text seems inadequate for magnitude of what they're saying. Could be family member who's been estranged, who you've had conflict with, who's been maintaining distance, who's decided reconciliation matters more than pride, who's choosing to bridge gap, who's ready to apologize or explain or attempt repair even if repair feels impossible. Family members showing up means something shifted in them. They've done reflection. They've recognized harm they caused or role they played. They're experiencing urgency, maybe their own crisis, maybe health concern, maybe realization that time is limited, maybe just missing connection. Why your house? Because family matters feel too personal for public space, because they're hoping familiar setting softens defenses, because showing up physically demonstrates they're serious about repair, because they want to talk without time limit or public witnesses. Could be friend who wronged you, who betrayed trust, who disappeared when you needed them, who's been carrying guilt, who's finally ready to acknowledge what they did, who's realized your friendship mattered more than they admitted, who's hoping it's not too late to repair. Friend showing oop means conscience has been working on them. They've tried to dismiss guilt but can't. They've been watching you from distance, maybe seeing you're fine without them, and that triggered realization of what they lost. They're risking rejection because need for resolution outweighs fear of your response. Why your house? Because apology feels too vulnerable for public place. Because they're hoping privacy allows honest conversation. Because showing up at your space is submission, is them coming to you on your territory, is acknowledging they're seeking forgiveness, not demanding it. Could be EX who's been silent, who ended things or who you ended with, who's been processing, who's realized they made mistake, who's ready to try again or at minimum to get closure, who's decided ambiguity is worse than risk of definitive rejection. X showing up means they've been comparing everyone to you. They've been trying to move on but can't. They've convinced themselves you might still care. They're hoping enough time passed that you're open. They're experiencing urgency, seeing you with someone else maybe, or timeline pressure, or just unable to continue without resolution. Why your house? Because they want intimacy of private conversation. Because they're hoping familiar setting reminds you of good times. Because showing up physically is grand gesture. Because they want to see your immediate reaction without you having time to construct defenses. Could be someone unexpected with important news, colleague with opportunity, acquaintance with information, distant connection with offer, person you barely know but who has something significant to communicate that requires in-person delivery. Unexpected person showing you P means they have information they believe you need. They have offer they think requires personal delivery. They have news that shouldn't be texted. They're choosing directness over formal channels. They believe urgency justifies unusual approach. Why your house? Because they don't have other way to reach you reliably, because matter is time sensitive, because they believe in-person delivery shows respect or seriousness, because they're hoping surprise creates advantage in negotiation or conversation. What they're showing up will create emotional dynamics. Surprise if you're not expecting them. Shock potentially if relationship has been distant. Immediate emotional reaction, positive or negative or mixed, that you won't have time to prepare for vulnerability because you're in your space, but conversation is unexpected. Automatic response, welcoming or defensive or confused before conscious decision about how to handle. Surprise creates authenticity, creates real reaction before performed reaction, creates them seeing actual you, not managed version, creates conditions for honest conversation or creates overwhelm that prevents productive conversation. Power dynamics shifting. If they're coming to you, if they're showing up at your door, they're in requesting position. They're on your territory. They're seeking your time, your attention, your willingness to engage. That gives you power even if emotionally you feel vulnerable. But surprise element gives them power. They chose timing. They created conditions. They put you in position of reacting rather than planning. decision requirement. You'll have to decide, do I let them in? Do I talk at door? Do I send them away? Do I engage with what they're saying? Do I agree to whatever they're asking? Immediate decision without time to deliberate. Decision pressure creates stress, creates possibility of agreeing to things you'd refuse with more time, creates possibility of rejecting things you'd accept with reflection, creates reactive choice rather than considered choice. This reflection invites you to consider, who do you suspect this is? Who would showing up at your house make sense for? Who fits pattern? Who have you been sensing might reach out? If someone immediately came to mind, that's probably who's planning this. That's who you'll see at your door. Trust that immediate recognition. Your intuition is tracking patterns you haven't consciously processed. This reflection invites you to consider, how do you feel about prospect of them showing up excited, anxious, angry, hopeful, resistant, curious, overwhelmed? Your feelings reveal what you actually want regardless of what you think you should want. If excitement dominates, you want this conversation. If resistance dominates, you're not ready or don't want reconnection. If mixed situation is complex and requires careful navigation, what you should do to prepare. Decide in advance what your boundaries are. If they do show up, are you willing to talk, willing to let them in, willing to hear them out? Or are you setting boundary that unexpected visits aren't acceptable regardless of what they want to say? Advanced decision creates clarity, creates ability to honor boundary even when emotional or surprised, creates knowing what you'll do before a moment arrives and emotions overwhelm. You're allowed to say, I appreciate you coming, but I'm not available for this conversation right now. Can we schedule time to talk? You're allowed to protect your space, allowed to require notice, allowed to not engage just because they showed up. Prepare what you'd want to say if given opportunity. If this is person you've been wanting to talk to, what would you want to communicate? What questions would you ask? What would you need to hear from them? What would you offer? Preparation prevents freezing, prevents missing opportunity to say what matters because overwhelmed, prevents agreeing to things you don't want because unprepared to articulate what you do want. But also prepare for possibility nothing happens. This message says they're planning. Planning doesn't guarantee execution. They might lose courage, might change mind, might decide different approach. Don't put life on hold waiting at door. Live normally. If they show up, you'll handle it. If they don't, you didn't waste energy waiting. Preparation without paralysis, readiness without obsession. And trust your safety instincts. If this is person who might be unsafe, if history includes abuse or stalking or threats showing up at your house is concerning, not romantic, is boundary violation, not grand gesture. Protect yourself. Don't engage alone. Call support. Document. Consider authorities if necessary. Most showings up are benign, awkward maybe, unwanted maybe, but not dangerous. Some are red flags. Trust your gut about which this is. Don't let cultural narratives about romantic gestures override actual safety concerns. What to do when they actually show up. Pause before opening door if you need moment. Breathe. Check in with yourself. Do I want this conversation? Am I available emotionally? Is this safe? Don't let automatic politeness override actual needs. Pause creates space, creates conscious choice, creates responding from wisdom, not just automatic reaction. If you're willing to engage set container, I have 30 minutes. We can talk at door, not inside. I'm willing to listen, but I need to process before responding. Create parameters that protect you while allowing conversation. Container prevents open ended engagement that overwhelms, prevents feeling trapped, prevents conversation expanding beyond your capacity, gives you exit if needed. Listen without immediately deciding. Hear what they're saying. Notice what they're offering or asking or confessing. Let them complete thought before reacting. Give yourself information before determining response. Listening doesn't obligate anything, doesn't mean agreeing, doesn't mean accepting, just means gathering information, just means understanding what they actually want before deciding if you want to give it. If what they're saying requires decision, don't decide on spot unless decision is clear. I hear you. I need time to think about this. Can I respond in few days? Honor your need for processing time. Delayed decision prevents pressure induced yes, prevents emotion driven choice you'll regret, gives time for clarity, gives space to consult support people if needed. If you don't want to engage, say so. I appreciate you coming, but I'm not available for this. Please don't show up unannounced again. Clear, firm, without extended explanation that creates argument. Clear no is kindest response when answer is no. Ambiguity creates false hope, creates them trying again, creates extended discomfort. Clarity creates closure, even if painful. After they leave, whether conversation was good or difficult, process with support. Talk to friend, journal, reflect. Don't make major decisions immediately. Let experience settle before determining what it means. Why they're showing up now specifically. Because timing aligned for them. They reached internal threshold. They couldn't wait anymore. They got triggered by seeing you or hearing about you. They experienced crisis that created urgency. They reached deadline, internal or external, that forced action. Now is when their readiness converged with their courage, converged with their need. Earlier one was missing. Now all factors present for them because something changed in circumstances. They're single now, they're moving, they're in therapy, they had health scare, they lost someone, they got clarity. Something shifted that created new perspective or new urgency or new possibility. Change created conditions where showing up seemed necessary or possible when before it seemed impossible or unnecessary. Because you're different now. You've grown, you've evolved, you're winning, you're happy, you're moving on, and watching that from distance created realization or regret or desire to reconnect before it's too late. Your evolution triggered their action. Your success created their urgency. Your moving forward created their fear of being left behind or their recognition of what they lost. The power is yours. It always has been. This person plans to show up at your house. This is why. And when they arrive, whether romantic interest, family member, friend, ex, or you unexpected person, your job is deciding boundaries in advance, preparing what you'd want to say, trusting safety instincts. pausing before opening door, setting conversation container if engaging, listening without immediately deciding, honoring need for processing time if decision required, saying clear no if not available, and processing afterward with support. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. And listen, showing you P at your house is bold move, is vulnerable move for them, is them choosing directness over safety, is them risking rejection in physical space where rejection is immediate and undeniable. That boldness deserves acknowledgement. Even if you don't want conversation, even if answer is no, even if timing is wrong, they're being brave in their way. But their bravery doesn't obligate your yes. Their courage doesn't require your acceptance. Their showing up doesn't create debt you owe. You can acknowledge their effort while maintaining your boundary. I appreciate you coming. That took courage, but I'm not available for this. Or you can engage if engagement serves you. If you've been wanting this conversation, if timing feels right, if what they're offering aligns with what you need, your choice, your space, your decision. Their showing up creates opportunity, doesn't create obligation. Decide what serves you. Honor that decision. Trust yourself to navigate whatever unfolds. They're coming. Be ready. Handle it your way.